I have something super exciting to show you. You've been asking for it, and we are finally gonna deliver. So go grab your popcorn right now. I'm gonna get into this. I'm gonna be talking about everything. What's up everyone, Shane here with ROA Off-Road. You've seen some videos, we've been teasing with a prototype, but I wanted to get the official production model in before I went through and did a full tour for you today. So this is going to be an extremely long video. If you've clicked on it, you already see that it's going to be very, very long. I'm gonna give you history on the company. I'm gonna talk about the materials and what that means. So get ready. If you're brand new to the trailer world, you're gonna learn a ton. If you're an intermediate, if you're advanced, I think you're still gonna walk away learning something today. I also wanna talk a little bit about ROA and MDC and how we've connected and how this relationship has blossomed over the last almost 18 months from when we first talked to them to carrying them to now over a year and actually carrying the product. Because sometimes when you start with something, it's always rainbows and butterflies, but as time goes on, things aren't always what you expect. With MDC, every single month we've been surprised and happy to report back after almost that first time I met them was the fall of 2023. And then we didn't officially get signed up with them until December of 23. And now here we are in February of 2025. And I can say unequivocally, our experience has been phenomenal and it's been better than what we ever dreamed it would be. So let's get into this trailer. Let's talk about some of those details so you can be an educated buyer in this product. If that's what you're interested in, I'm going to get into this. So here we go. We are up in the mountains. The sun is setting soon. So we're gonna do the outside first. So ladies, I apologize, stay tuned. We'll go inside. This trailer is the perfect his and hers couples trailer. His because the outside is rugged, extreme, very masculine. But when you walk inside, the inside is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's a European or Australian design. So very modern, very just shiny and beautiful. You're gonna love the inside. So let's get in there in a little bit, but first I want to talk about some of the specs on this trailer. Everybody wants to know the lengths and the weights. Our total overall length is 25 feet and 4 inches. That's from end to end, all the way tip to toe. The actual box itself is just over 19 feet, and that's the reason why it is called the XT19HRT. The HRT stands for a hard rooftop, which means there is no hybrid in this trailer. There's no canvas. These are all solid walls. The height is 10 foot 4 inches. The width of the body is 7 foot 3 inches. Now, a lot of people ask, that seems a lot more narrow than a standard American-made trailer. But in Australia, one of the reasons why their trailers are a little bit more narrow is because they want to follow the track of the tow vehicle. So when you're on a forest road going down the track, you're going to follow the same tire tracks as your truck and the trailer. They'll follow that same track line. So that's pretty unique to the Australian stuff that we see imported into the US. Now, another thing is from end to end with the awnings and everything, you're about 7 foot 8 inches. So be aware of that. Now, as far as the weights go, the dry weight on this unit is 6,470 pounds, which is great. The tongue weight is 595 pounds. So this trailer is going to be easily towed by any half ton. That means F-150, Chevy 1500, Ram 1500. You're not going to have any issues towing this. The fully loaded weight shouldn't exceed 7,716 pounds. So you have just under 1,300 pounds of cargo capacity, 1246 to be exact. You have 41 gallons of fresh water on board. And you also have a separate tank for your toilet fresh water. So if you do run out of water, you can pull water to the stream. I'll show you that in more detail here pretty soon. Your gray tank is 21 gallons and your black is just over 5 gallons, and it is a cassette. Another very cool feature that you'll see on a lot of the MDC campers, you can see these little buttons here. These buttons actually clip on a skirt that drops down to the ground, and then there's actually flooring material that comes out. And then you can also mount this annex is what they call it. And it comes out with the awning, and then you have a fully enclosed walls, and it just doubles your living space. You know, if you're staying somewhere for a while and you want that base camp type of setup, you'll have that with the 19 from MDC. Something that I cannot emphasize enough is that MDC, they are users of their product. They're actually the second largest trailer company in Australia. They've sold more trailers into the Australian market as far as off-road goes than anybody else. Yes, that's right, than anybody else. Think about how many incredible Australian campers are in Australia. You have Patriot campers, you have Brooders, you have Kimberly campers, which has been around for 30 years, right? You have Kedrons, all of these incredible, iconic manufacturers that are in Australia. MDC outsells all of them, probably all of them combined. It's unbelievable. So they really know what they're doing. They deliver these products into the outback, and they're so confident that they give a lifetime warranty on the entire chassis and drawbar. That is phenomenal. And I'm going to get into more of the chassis details and talk about why they're so confident in giving a lifetime warranty. I don't know of anybody in America that does a lifetime warranty on their chassis. So it is definitely something that sets MDC apart. And a lot of people have seen lots of trailers like this coming into America, kind of getting inundated by them. But when you understand the history of MDC, you realize that MDC is the original, and all the other ones that we've seen in America are actually copycats. So whether you've seen the Black Series or the OBIs, those are truly copycats of the MDC. They've been doing this longer than anyone else, but they don't just sell, they use their campers and innovate them. They listen to the feedback. And I've experienced this personally because in our short relationship to this point, they have listened to all of our feedback. And that is not as common as you would think. Obviously, we have manufacturers that do, but then most manufacturers don't. Quite frankly, we've had manufacturers in the past where we had to do all the modifications because they weren't willing to listen to us to change the trailers. That's not the case with MDC. First of all, there's not a lot of modifications to do is because they're so dialed in a way that other manufacturers aren't. And because of that, it leads us to not have to do a lot of things. And then if we tell them about it, usually it gets put into the production model. Some of the things with this trailer are the winter capability of it. They have done a lot of changes because we've been asking them, and they listen to the marketplace. And now those changes are getting implemented and across all of their lineup, which is very exciting. But here we are at the backside of the trailer. I do want to focus on details about the trailer and not just MDC, but I kind of want to build it into the whole entire video. But as you can see down here, we have some recovery hooks, and you may have seen this on some trailers, but some of the little details that you don't always see is they actually have ratings on these. Some of the knockoff ones don't actually even rate them. They're just cheap knockoffs. And then look at these cotter pins that go through this. This is really cool because this is just a bolt. And if you bend out this cotter pin, slide it out, then you can just unscrew this. And I've seen these on lots of vehicles where if you're driving down the road, you'll find these just on the dirt trails because they just unscrew themselves and loosen. That is an issue that MDC probably had at one point. And so that's why they started adding these little pins. There are so many details in this trailer to the untrained eye, you wouldn't notice those things. Now, we here at ROA have been working with off-road trailers longer than anybody else in America. We've started back when Black Series came in 2017-18, and we've carried pretty much every single off-road trailer that's come to America. There's a few that we haven't. And if we haven't carried them, we've actually talked to them. Like, we've had many conversations with Brooder, we've worked with Patriot, right? So like, we've carried most everything. And there's little details that all of those guys, they're fantastic companies, but MDC is next level. Like, they are a full-fledged manufacturing, and their organization just has dialed in their product better than any other trailer manufacturer that we've worked with that have been importing their trailers into the US. Very impressed with them. Now, we step back up here, you can see we have a ladder that goes to the roof. Now, on the roof, there's not a lot to do up there because it's completely covered with solar panels. 1,225 watts. That's insane. That's so much solar. There's not a lot of people in the market doing that right now. So the whole roof is covered, and they're also elevated, and they're glass panels, which are the most efficient way you can do solar. Of course, you have your air conditioner up there. And the nice thing is you have access to get up there. If you need to look at anything, service anything, clean the panels, have a quick, easy access to do that. Another little detail, like these ladders generally are just this rung, and see these little L brackets? MDC was noticing there was a little bit of give. The first time I saw it, I was like, yeah, so what? I've seen that on every trailer ever built in America. And they're like, no, that wasn't good enough for us. We wanted to make them stronger. So we added these L brackets so it had more support on the ladder. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. That's incredible. Now, coming over here, we do have standard a backup camera. And then of course we have our LED floodlight. We do have these tires. And it might sound crazy, but tires are really important. This is a Load Range E. I've told you, we have had experience with all the manufacturers. And believe it or not, some of the trailer manufacturers we've worked with in the past, they were delivering trailers with Load Range C tires. And for an off-road trailer, that is absurd. You can't do that. MDC say these Good Rides are a fantastic tire. They've delivered almost all of their 40,000 trailers on this tire. So think about that. They have, I guess, a couple 100,000 tires in the market, and they said they've had very little to no problem with these. It is a 265 with a 16-inch rim, and this is an alloy. A lot of the things also with MDC are proprietary, and they've actually had to design certain things because over time they have found failure points. And this is something that you just don't hear about a lot of manufacturers, where they've had to reinforce certain parts of their trailer. So a lot of their rims, their hubs and everything is actually more robust and stronger than anything else in the market. So let's head on over here. Of course, we have another recovery point right there. Moving over to here, we have the stabilizer jack. This is really cool. This is not necessarily made to lift the trailer, but it's just when you get level or wherever you're at, you'll drop these down to give it a little bit more stability when you're inside the trailer. Now, all the tanks on this trailer are covered with an aluminum diamond plating. So if those rocks fly up, it's not going to damage the tanks. Just gives you some more protective covering on your tanks underneath there. Over here, you also have this diamond plating. This is very common in Australia. If you look at all the manufacturers, especially the ones that claim to be off-road, they have this diamond plating. And then above here, you have an aluminum composite material. So it's just a sandwich of aluminum. There's not wood inside of that composite. And then on the inside, you have a laminate composite as well. So inside, you're going to see it. It's beautiful. You're going to love it. Out here, it's very sleek and just a beautiful design. Of course, you can see they have a bunch of stickers here and kind of showing off some of the things that they put in the trailer. Because if you get digging into some of the other imports that you'll see coming into America, they put a lot of no-name brands. MDC prides themselves in doing, you know, TRUMA appliances. They use the Tucson sway control system. This is integrated into the trailer. So this is something that you can add in your trailer aftermarket, but it can cost anywhere from $1,000 to a couple $1,000 depending on where you get it installed. What it is, it's similar to your car's traction control. You know, if you start losing traction, your car kicks in its traction control. If this trailer goes into a sway, the Tucson sway controller, it starts applying brakes where necessary to get the trailer lined up so you get out of that sway. So very, very cool that they just have those details built into the trailer without you needing to add it aftermarket. The Mega Hub is unbelievable. I just hired a new mechanic not too long ago, and we had one of the hubs on display, and he just looked over it and he's like, those hubs are not normal. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, those wheel bearings look bigger than semi-truck wheel bearings. And I was like, really? And he's like, those are the biggest wheel bearings I've ever seen. The wheel studs on these are much thicker than any other thing. Like, as far as the standard, we went out and measured all of these, and these have the thickest wheel studs. So this is something that MDC really wanted to pride themselves in, is the Mega Hub with dual wheel bearings into it. So that thing is just so reliable when you're hitting washboards, when you're in Australia doing thousands of miles in the outback. You know, you don't want to have a wheel fail or wheel bearing failure. Of course, you do have to service these every year is what we recommend, but right out of the gate, you have best in class as far as your hub system. Now, Renegy, we'll get more into that stuff when we go inside. The tough tracks, the gas shocks, the diameter is way thicker than anything else we've ever seen. These are massive gas shocks. Of course, you have 8 gas shocks on the independent suspension. You have limiting chains. On those limiting chains, they also have little cotter pins that prevent the limiting chains from unloosening themselves over time, which we've seen that happen previously. Also, the A-arm. This is an independent suspension. So now a lot of people might not understand what does that mean? What's an independent suspension? Nowadays, most vehicles, you know, have independent suspension. A lot of nice cars, Cadillacs, right? Nice Chevy trucks have front independent suspension. If you go and get in a truck that's, you know, from the 80s, a lot of times they had a solid axle in the front. And so it was like a bar that goes across. And this is what most trailers do in America. They have a standard bar, and then they have these leaf springs that go under. And so essentially it's really metal on metal. And so when you're driving down the road, you just get a lot of shaking. Go and get in an old truck and you'll experience this. You hit a speed bump and the whole truck is rocking. Your whole body is jolting. It's not very comfortable. So nowadays you're seeing a lot more independent suspension. So each wheel will go up independent of the other. So if you hit a bump on one side, it doesn't necessarily send a shock wave across the entire truck. So that's how this is designed. Most trailers in America are still on leaf springs and solid axles. Now it's funny, you can actually go and look at a horse carriage from the 1800s, and they actually use leaf springs and solid axles. So you really haven't seen a change in the RV industry for 100 years. Here in the MDC product, we have a fully independent system with A-arm, 4 A-arms, 8 gas shocks with coils and limiting springs. This is more like what you're gonna see like a Baja trophy truck or a nice Raptor. They're gonna have that independent suspension, which is really good. Now, I talked about over 1,200 watts of solar on the roof. Well, guess what? They're delivering an additional 600 watts of solar. So you can have over 1,800 watts of solar with these briefcases. So these are actually an Anderson connector. So if you open this up, you can plug in an Anderson. Of course, you do have to have a regulator on the exterior solar panel, so they're not regulated on the inside, but they do have it all wired up for you. So it's just a matter of plugging it in and getting more power. Now, a lot of people will say, with 1,200 watts, do you really need that? Maybe you want to park in the shade, and also a panel that's slanted towards the sun is way more efficient than a flat roof panel. Okay, moving up to the front. Another thing is this storage compartment kind of has an aerodynamic look to it. I really like this because it gives you a lot of storage. So as we open this up, these are lockable as well. So you can put a pin in here and lock it. But you come into here, this is designed for jerry cans. So a jerry can is something that you can either put water or fuel in. Now, it would be also very easy to remove this and just utilize this as a massive storage space. Now, you see there's a gasket here. You see gas struts are assisting this coming up. Another thing that I want to point out is this is a nice lip all the way around this. So, and if you come up here, it's hard to tell, but there's a channel in here. If it were to rain, the water is going to hit this, run down, hit the channel, and it's coming to come out and flow out of here. Now, that might seem simple and obvious. Automotive industry does stuff like that. But believe it or not, a lot of times the RV world, trailer companies, they don't go to that extensive detail to make sure water intrusion isn't coming in here. And the reality is, even if water did get into this, it's not the end of the world. It's for fuel cans. It's not necessarily supposed to be an airtight, watertight compartment, but it is going to definitely be much better than anything else that you see out on the market. You also have these gaskets underneath here. Then these are riveted into this nice heavy duty hinge. Now, I do want to point out, we do also have another LED light up in the front area, and we have lights all throughout the entire trailer, which I'll show you in a little bit. But I first want to talk a little bit about this front area. It may not seem that important if you've owned a trailer or owned many trailers. If you're a first-time trailer owner, owning a trailer can be overwhelming at times. That's why at ROA, we pride ourselves in doing the most thorough handover deliveries. We also have a full handover video of this. It's like a 2-hour-long video. This is a private video that you don't have access to on YouTube. This is only for people that buy trailers from us. And those people have that handover video that teaches them how to operate the trailer. I'm not trying to teach you how to operate the trailer. I'm just trying to show you the features of this trailer so you can understand the quality and make a good decision whether you want to buy it or not. MDC is also super thoughtful. If you look in here, they have close appliance valves before opening cylinder valves, right? That's a simple thing. So like, make sure your stove is not on before opening this, right? Go in there, make sure everything's closed, and then turn on your propane because you want it to get pressurized. So there's little details of here that they really actually teach you how to run and operate your trailer. Of course, at ROA, we do as well, but MDC really cares about the end user and they want you to have an incredible experience. And that's why they put a lot of that stuff. All of our previous trailers that we've carried, the Australian design trailers, don't have stuff like that. And so I like to point out those little details that make your ownership experience much better. Now over here, we have two 20-pound propane tanks that come stock with the trailer. You can actually upgrade these to 30-pounders. They fit with no issues in here. And of course, this is all ventilated. Propane is heavier, so it drops out if there ever was a leak. Also, this is a braided hose. That's another detail where we've dealt with lots of trailers in the past where they don't use a braided hose, like a black hose, and it gets really hot and those things crack or rot out and then you get gas leaks. So just another detail. And to me, I believe this comes from them using their trailers. Another little detail, look at this. When you open this up, you have this rubber gasket here. So it's not metal on metal, which I've seen a lot of trailers just metal on metal, and these things are just scraping and banging around. So it's just lots and lots of details that you might miss if you don't know what you're looking for. Now, coming over here, looks like we're losing some sun, getting dark, but it's so beautiful out here. This is why you camp. So you can come to incredible places like this and just enjoy the nature. But coming up here, we have another open area. This is not for the jerry cans. This is more storage. Now, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here, so buckle up. Coming down here, we have a handbrake. Yes, that means it will break your tires. I always recommend chocks on the wheel no matter what, but the fact that you have this is really cool because most trailers in America, you have to chalk the wheels or block the wheels or throw rocks on the wheels. This right here just gives you that ability to brake it. Of course, when you're driving, you put it back down. Feels very heavy duty. You see the wiring goes through here. It has a nice plate where it feeds in here. And then if you get under this trailer and look at how everything's run, the wiring, you'd be just shocked, especially when you compare it to other trailers that we've had over the years. You see the differences. Another thing right here, we have more information on how to torque your wheel lugs. So this, and you should be torquing your wheel lugs frequently when you go off-roading and camping. I've seen this on a few manufacturers, but not a lot. So I really appreciate that. Coming over here, we have an arc jockey wheel. This thing actually pulls out like this and it rotates, but it goes like that. And then also you lift this up and it slides. So you have a lot of different positions to get this. The reason why they do this, Will, is if you were ever to get in a spot where you needed to recover the trailer, you could, you know, take this wheel down at the lowest position, and you could technically go to the back of the trailer, hook up to one of those D-rings in the back, and you could pull the trailer, which is a cool idea. It's happened to me once, but hopefully will never happen to you. Now, coming down here, I want to talk about your connections. So you do have a 7-pin right here, and that's going to be standard for America. That's going to be your truck brakes and also all your lights, your blinkers. Another thing is, in America, most of the trailers will charge off of your 7-pin, but it's a very, very minimal amount of power that goes back to your batteries. Now, this unit comes equipped with 800 amp hours of lithium. You might not know what that means if you're a first-time buyer, but I'll tell you in a little bit what it means in comparison to most trailers. But it's a lot of power, and this can get you a lot of power back to those batteries while you're driving. So this is an Anderson connection. Obviously, it's not standard in America, but if you do come to our store, ROA Off-Road in Utah or South Carolina and Colorado, we can install one of these on your tow vehicle. Coming soon, probably sometime next year to Arizona, but right now we can actually install this setup in your truck for the trailer and allow you to be able to charge a lot of power going into the trailer. Now, Cruise Master, this is a DO35, and this is a phenomenal hitch. You've seen this in a lot of trailers if you've done research. I really think this is one of the best Australian hitches on the market. You have Mick hitches, you have polyblocks, which are trash in my opinion. I hate polyblocks. They're so hard to hook up. That's what we had back in the day with Black Series, and they were just a nightmare to hook up. We would usually rip those off, and we actually have a pile of polyblocks at our shop. It's like a mountain of polyblocks because we would be replacing the hitches with either Mick hitches or these Cruise Master hitches. Now, let's talk about these chains. You might think, first of all, these are massive. And MDC, they make sure that they rate everything on this. Like, it's unbelievable. You have codes and ratings on every single thing you have. Even your bolts right here, you have the 8.8, so you have all the ratings. You'd be surprised. A lot of manufacturers that are shipping stuff over from China, like Black Series or Opus, they just put on generic bolts. They're not actually properly rated. Hopefully, they're all properly torqued. Now, something that MDC does on all their trailers, you can see they mark everything here, and that means it's been torqued to the proper spec. So if you see that, you know all the bolts have been torqued. Now, another thing about these chains, besides that they are absolutely massive, look at this. These chains are monster chains, but look how they're built into this platform right here, and they're bolted through, and this is what's actually holding. If you were ever to lose your trailer, you can see this is all welded through, part integrated in the frame. I've seen previously on some trailers where they don't actually do that. They just take a part of the chain right here and they'll weld it like right here, just a little piece of the chain. And so the entire thing is just held up by the chain. These are details. And I found out originally some of the manufacturers that were doing that was against code, and RVAA came in and they got in big trouble. But like, that's another thing about MDC is they are following all the standards and actually going above and beyond, because the standards in Australia are way more strict than the standards in the US. And so they've actually followed the standards in Australia. They've come to the US, and whatever the US wants differently, they'll adapt to that. But in a lot of cases, the standards are much higher in Australia. So they're actually better than what you're going to get in the US. Okay, we're going to work our way back, but I want to talk a little bit about this chassis, because MDC puts all of their chassis through an FEA analysis. That's a finite element analysis. They go through and make sure there's not weak points, and they strengthen wherever it needs to be strengthened. And they give a lifetime warranty on it. So they're pretty confident that you're not going to have a chassis failure. And I'm telling you, we have seen chassis failures on trailers, off-road trailers, which is wild to me to see somebody that's building an off-road trailer and putting it in the market and then having frame flex or failures completely. That's not acceptable. I'm confident and proud and grateful that MDC goes above and beyond to make sure this doesn't happen. So as far as the chassis goes, I want to point out some things, but before, just want to point out there's a water spigot. At first, when I saw this, I thought, this is so annoying. Why do you have this? It's also a weak point for freezing. And you're claiming that they're trying to make this more for America, cold weather. Now, there is a cool thing. You can actually turn off this outside spigot from the inside so you don't have water in the lines if you're going somewhere cold. But during the summer, believe it or not, this thing is awesome because when you're hooking up, it is dirty, you're on a dirt road, your hands just get so dirty, sometimes muddy even. And right here, when you're out hooking up, as soon as you're done, you just turn that on, wash your hands. I don't know, put a bowl out there for the dog, fill it up. I end up using this spigot a ton. Now in the winter, obviously that would freeze. So you go inside and there's a shutoff valve that you turn it off and then there's no water out here and you don't have any freezing problems. But come on over here and let's point out some things on this chassis. As you work around, you'll notice that they add these gussets and extra weld plates. These are for strength and reinforcement. You come down here, you have additional points right here. This is just for strength. I've seen a lot of manufacturers that don't do this. These plates are about 1/4 inch thick as well. This entire chassis is what you call a hot dipped galvanized chassis. So if you're brand new here, you can go and Google that, learn more information. I'm not like a metallurgist and don't know everything about metal, but from what I do understand, they dip it into a molten hot bath of zinc and it adheres to it and makes it more corrosion proof. Essentially, if you go to the beach and you notice posts, freeway signs, those are all going to be hot dip galvanized. And the reason why they do that is to prevent rusting, especially in a place like the beach. Galvanization, when done correctly, can last over 100 years before it starts to corrode. Now, steel, a regular steel beam, which is what you get mostly in America, steel can actually start to corrode the second it's off the press. The second it comes out of the factory and goes outside, it starts to break down and corrode because steel just starts to deteriorate and turn back into dirt unless you put some sort of protectant layer over it, whether it's paint or you take it and get it hot dipped galvanized. This is very expensive in the US and most people don't do it. And there's not a lot of places in the US that do this. When you look at all the Australian products, their whole country is mostly along the coast, and it's essential that you hot dip galvanize everything. Most cars are hot dip galvanized as well. Now, another thing that the owner and founder of MDC, Vaughn, told me is, Shane, we don't just hot dip galvanize it at any point. He says, before we have them go in there and they scrape it and they clean the tubs for us. So when our stuff goes in there, it has the purest galvanization process possible. And if you look at their frames, they're actually a lot more smooth. If you look at other frames, they'll see a lot of blemishes, and that's usually a sign that they're not cleaning it. And so this is the cleanest galvanization jobs I've ever seen. And I kind of asked him that. I'm like, why is it so much nicer? It's because usually galvanization has lots of blemishes in it. And that's the reason why. So very cool. Those are details, and it costs money, right? Like, it's cheap to go and just dip it whenever. They purposely go above and beyond to make that dipping much better. So now I want to talk about other things out here. You see that we have lights. That might make perfect sense. Why is there lights? Usually there's not lights on the driver's side of trailers, believe it or not. But look, we have a storage compartment right here. So it would be really nice to have a light out here. You're coming in, hooking up your power at night. It's nice to have a light right here. Like, it kind of makes sense to have lights. You also have another light inside if the outside light is not enough. So we turn this off. Inside here we have canvas. This is the material for your annex and also a shower. So I'll show you that shower in a little bit. Before I get into the shower and keep working my way down, I want to point out these doors. These doors, first of all, they got some depth to them. We just did a comparison video recently to an Opus. And Opus and Black Series and OBI, they all are coming out of the same factory. But we did a comparison video and I noticed the door was just like sheet metal. It was like super thin and flimsy. This right here, you have about an inch and a half depth in this. So this is an insulative door. better for hot and cold. But also you have these sills right here. See this gasket? And then you have an additional gasket here that seals into that gasket. And then you have another gasket up here that seals off even better. So they call this the triple gasket. Another thing about this is there's these cam locks. So when I rotate this, you're gonna notice this lock, it actually sucks in. And so that just gives it a tighter seal. This is so cool. I absolutely love this trailer. And the more I go through these trailers, the more I just notice the attention to detail. Another thing I just noticed just the other day as I was going through this. So when these trailers are put together, there's actually fasteners underneath here that you can't see. They're not exposed. And the reason why is because they have a trim piece here. So this aluminum piece is a track. And so they slide in this trim in here and it covers the fasteners. And underneath those fasteners have a sealant on them to protect any water intrusion. This is a very common way to build trailers, even in the US. Over time, sometimes you have issues underneath here. And so you have to pull this out because sometimes water can work its way in and into the inside of it. Now, obviously we got aluminum composite walls, so I'm not worried about water damage per se, like on wood. But what I noticed just the other day is this is actually caulked. See this right here? This line, there's a silicone bead here, and there's a silicone bead all the way up here. So the whole length of this, all the way up, has a bead of silicone. So it's literally impossible for water to intrude into there. And I've never seen that on any trailer. This is a very common thing you see across the whole industry, but usually they just put this thing in it and then you pull it out and you can see the fasteners and they're caulked to prevent water intrusion. But this is like a triple seal, 1, 2, and then 3 on the inside. Kind of like what you see with the doors. Details, details, details. You don't always notice these details unless you've been in the industry working with other manufacturers and seeing just, it's astonishing. I've seen some manufacturers just caulk the top of these to right there because they figure, oh, water's just gonna come down here. It's like, are you kidding me? What happens when you're driving down the freeway and water's splashing here? Or what if it's splashing up here? What if you do a river crossing? How is it not gonna splash upwards? It's ridiculous and absurd. You see a full bead to protect intrusion across the entire trailer. That is really important to me. This right here is your AquaGo. This has the capability to go into freezing cold weather. This is an on-demand water heater built by TRUMA. Now, what that means is that when you turn on the water inside the trailer, it's gonna take a couple seconds. It senses the pressure's been engaged and then it starts heating up the water. What's really cool is you can take showers as long as you want. Some trailers have a tank, 3-gallon, 5-gallon, 7-gallon tanks. And once you're out of hot water, you're out. And then you have to sometimes wait anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to heat it back up. You do not have to do that with this. Now you gotta be careful because you might consume too much water because you can take a shower forever until you're out of water. And when you're plugged in to the city, you can actually take showers as long as you want. So if you do pull into a campground, a lot of people think these are only for off-road. No, you can actually go to a campground. If you come over here, you can see this is a wet bay. You open this up and you have a city water connection. And so if you do pull into a campground, oh, this is warm. I can feel the heat. Wow, that is very cool. It's freezing up here. I think when I checked the truck last, it was like 25 degrees and the sun's gone down. So now it's probably plummeting. It was in the teens last night in the valley. So it's probably going to be close to single digits up here tonight. This is warm. And the reason why it's warm is because there's heat ducts running on the inside. Now I've been talking with the head engineer, the man who's over all product design. Shout out to James. Thank you so much. Talking about how the struggles of 4 seasons and cold weather, and they've just they've gone for it. All of these water gauges used to be on the outside, just exterior. So the water could get exposed and freeze. The outside shower was in this. I said, you got to take it inside and have it all sealed. But the other thing that's really important is there needs to be some sort of heat inside that's giving you a radiant heat. And this is nice and toasty. Oh, that feels actually really good on my hands because my hands are getting cold. Also, there's a drain right here. If you go down here, as silly as this is, we had a trailer recently that, when you are putting water in here, obviously water is gonna spill into here. And if it's not actually all sealed off, it could leak inside of the trailer. Instead, you can see this actually has a lip on it and then a drain. So if the water comes down, it's gonna drain out and come right below the tires. Yep, right there, check it out. You have a little drain right there. How cool is that? Right there, massive detail. It's wild. I've also seen trailers where everything's inside the door, but then there's no way to actually hook up your water. If you are at the campground, you can't shut your door. So it's just open like this and your water's all going there. And then this is flapping in the wind or something. You can actually close this up, lock it. You can open up this little porthole and you can still have city water going in and keep the rest of it insulated, warm, or protected. Man, isn't it cool? Isn't it cool to be a part of a manufacturer that actually is improving things? It's so wild. I'm sorry. It's just, I've just dealt with so many manufacturers over the years that just don't give a crap. They just want to sell product. And like the funny thing is you think improving the product would sell product. You think if you make it better year over year, people are going to buy it. Like that's why you buy Apples. That's why you buy Teslas. That's maybe a debatable, but he is trying to make them better, right? Even though the quality's not always there. But like that's the difference between the manufacturers that we're working with. And I get a lot of crap all the time for saying our trailers are the best, but ROA Off-Road, our mission is to sell, deliver the best off-road trailers and off-grid products in the world, and we want to pair that with the best delivery experience before, during, and after the sale. That's why we do rallies and adventures. That's why we have tech support, because we want to have your experience incredible from start to forever, as long as you own your trailer with us. We also want to pair that with the best built trailers. And that's the reason why at times we have to part ways with manufacturers, because they're not innovating. They're not making things better. They get so satisfied with just what they have. They feel like they have a market hold. And, you know, adding silly things like water lines or heating areas, like that costs money and it takes time. And it's not super easy all the time. It's fun when you can find alignment with a manufacturer and we can work together to really bring to market something incredible. Right here we have a lug nut tighten instruction, so it tells you how to do it, when to do it, just detail after detail after detail. This right here is going to be your exhaust port for your TRUMA. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you have a light. Why do you have a light here? Well, it's because you need to hook up your water stuff at night sometimes, right? Obviously you can't have it here because there's a window. Another thing that I need to point out is there's a track right there, and that allows you to actually have your outside shower set up right here. So if you're at the beach, if you're somewhere during the summer, you want to spray off the kids or the dogs or take a shower outside and not fill up your tanks, that's the reason why you have that set up. And the back of it does cover the window, so people can't see into your shower. There is a little space for a light so you can take showers at night. And these also have white and yellow lights, so it deters the bugs. I'll show you that inside. This is our cassette toilet. Now, when we started dealing with Australian stuff and cassette toilets, I didn't know what to think. I've actually become a massive fan of these because number one, there's very little to no failures on these things. They just work. And number two, they give you the ability to go off grid and stay off grid longer than anything else. Because if you do have a black tank, eventually it's going to get full. Now, if you have a massive black tank, yeah, you might be able to go a week or so off grid, and then you got to get back somewhere to dump it and stand in line or like park in line to get to a dump station, unless you're fortunate and have one at your house. I do not. So I have to go to a gas station. This guy comes out, and if I'm at a forest service area, for example, look at this. There are pit toilets right over there. Do you see those pit toilets? I can literally walk this over there, open this cap, and you just push this little button and psh, all your doo-doo goes into the toilet. And it's a long drop, so it doesn't splash. It just shoots down to the very bottom, and then you pull it up and it's done. If you're really, I have a weak stomach and I don't like doing this type of stuff, this doesn't bother me at all. I actually think it's really easy. And then you just put that back in, shut it up. Another detail, I said, hey, these have a separate water tank system. So you actually fill up your water into here. And what I really like about this is because the 41 gallons, sometimes people are like, oh, you know, like that's not a ton of water. I'd like 50 gallons. The reality is you can use over 10 gallons on a short weekend trip flushing your toilet. You do have an extra water tank right here. And so if you ran out of water right here, it's really easy to go to a stream or have a jerry can, fill it up again. This does not include, you have the separate 41 gallons, which is purely fresh water. This is just for your toilet. And if you go down to a river or a stream, throw water into this, you're not contaminating your freshwater tanks, but you can continue to flush your toilet and empty your sewage. So this really is an awesome setup, and it's not as bad as people think. People get a little bit, ooh, and it's really not that bad of a deal. Let's head to one of my favorite things about MDC, and that is their kitchen and also some of their storage area up front. Now right here, this is an area for a television. This is a mount. You can actually remove the TV on the inside and mount it here. And of course you have outlets. You also have a cigarette lighter. Okay, we drop this down and you have a little prep space right here. And this is just extra storage or prep. Also, I love that there's outlets. You could set a TV right here if you didn't want to mount it. Maybe you're not all about going into the outback or into the woods or the forest, and you just want to tailgate at your favorite football team. This is kind of like the ultimate tailgater as well, and I'll show you why, because this has an epic kitchen. Oh, and let's not forget, there's an outlet right here as well. This is also something that's very cool, is they do give you a lot of outlets. And if there's not the perfect amount of outlets, here at ROA, we can add outlets. So not so bad. We have our light right there, yellow, so it doesn't attract the bugs as much. And then let me show you some of the outside lights. So as you can see, those are white, which is going to be a lot brighter. So maybe when you pull into camp at first, you want the white lights on, but after you get camp set up and you want to kind of change the mood a little bit, make it romantic or deter the bugs, you turn it to yellow. And now you have the yellow lights that deters the bugs and sets the mood for a nice camping night. Want to point out, in the RV industry in America, generally, if you are a reputable trailer manufacturer, you will get certified. This is something that you really need to watch for, especially in the off-road space, because a lot of off-road trailers are mom and pop shops and they don't actually go through all the certifications. So this is the RVIA Association, and this is the Pacific West Association. Now, nice little hack. If you do want to build a little off-road trailer, teardrop trailer, and you want to get certified to be able to sell in the US legitimately, you can still sell not being certified. It's just a lot harder to, you know, maybe get insurance on some units. It's harder to get financing on those units. There's ways that you can do it. And that's what a lot of these young scrappy companies do. They just figure out ways around it, because getting certified costs you money, takes time. Now you have your RVIA and your Pacific West. So hack for you young mom and pop shops, you only need one of these. You don't need two of these, just one. You can just go RVIA or you can go Pacific West. From what I understand, this is a lot easier. Some of the manufacturers will only get this one because it's the easiest one to get. This one might be harder, but MDC is like, hey, we want to be over-certified, over-qualified, and build that reputation that we care about our product. And they went to the lengths of getting certified through both of the companies that go over compliance and standard. So there you have it. Why do they do that? Other than just because they care and they want to prove to everybody that they do sell and build the best products out there. Okay, now you might be wondering, hey, look, there's another light. How do you turn that on? Well, let me show you something very cool. We got our switch right here, which is our white light. So you have your white light, or you can turn that off and get your yellow light. Now, let's talk about this kitchen. These brackets, or at least they're close to 1/8 inch thick steel. This is not aluminum. We have seen almost every off-road trailer you can imagine, and I've never seen ones that have this thickness. I'm talking about all the Australian design trailers. We also carry some American trailers that are also very equally strong and robust and beautiful. But as for as any import, I'm including Brooder in this and Patriot in this. Like this right here, custom track that holds this thing in from coming out while you're off-roading is like one of the thickest and most robust. This pin comes up, turns around, and then you have your latch right here, and you push that lever and it pulls the tray out. A lot of times what you'll see is either just a single lever right here, and you have to make sure it's all the way locked in, otherwise it could come open without you knowing while you're off-roading, and that's all they have. Sometimes they have two levers, and that's all they have. But the issue with that is these levers are actually, you bounce up and something hits and this opens up, and then this is slamming against the door and you're gonna break something. This goes all the way in and you latch that in, it's not gonna ever come out. I did see brooder, when we had a brooder in our shop, it had a similar latch like this, but it was about half the thickness of this, and all the metal on it was almost half as thick. I accidentally went to pull it and I thought I was going to break it without even trying, which was crazy. Another little thing, I just did a comparison video recently on an Opus, and they actually did have this tray, but look at this. You press this button, that comes up, and then you can pull out this cutting tray. The other one, it didn't have that. So when we opened the door, it was like already hanging out, just bashing around. So when you actually go to shut this, you push the button and it locks it in. There are so many details on the MDC that you just don't see in other trailers. And this video, if I don't stop myself to some degree, it's gonna be 2 to 3 hours long. So let's get moving. We have our bottle opener here, right here, with the MDC logo engraved on this. Come back over here, we have piano hinges across the whole back side of this, and they're all welded. More piano hinges. You have rivets on these racks that come up as well. Pull that out. Another detail, these little straps that hold this cover down. Believe it or not, you don't see that often. So these things are just like bouncing, bashing around when you're off-roading. This comes up here, you see the detail, attention to detail, MDC USA. This comes up and over. I've seen footage of the manufacturer, and they design all of these kitchens in-house. And that's another thing that you don't see with other manufacturers. Like the trays that come out on the Patriots and the Brooders, I actually think they just outsource those from somewhere, who knows where in China, because the tracks are almost all identical. Everything on these actually feel custom built in-house from MDC. And I know this is because I've seen their welding facility where they're actually building these, and you can see this little divot right here in the middle that actually drops down and it fits right into there and locks in. Other ones I've seen, they just kind of sit, or they have little holes that pop in, but this actually locks in, so you can't move this. And I just love the attention to detail with the MDC logo. Now, right here, we have a Thetford, and MDC actually has an exclusive right to this stovetop in all of America. This is a company out of the UK, and as far as stovetops go, I think this is the best stovetop I've ever dealt with. This is a 9800 BTU output, and this one is 6300. Now, you might say, what does that mean to me? All the other trailers we've ever sold and dealt with, these stovetops are rubbish. Like, they work, but they take forever. Their actual high output, I think, is like 5800, which is less than their low output ones. So you can actually cook up a nice steak. You can cook a whole batch of eggs for a crew. We've taken this out camping for over a month last year, and we were utilizing this. We were cooking for sometimes 8 or 10 people, and it was like done in a reasonable amount of time. Now I'm going to show off this rack, and this could be for multiple things. It could be for drying your dishes or just extra storage. Now this goes up like this and it locks in, and then there's a cool little lever right here. This pops out and then turns, and then of course these flip down and they lock in. And this is nice and sturdy. Everything feels very sturdy, and I really appreciate that. You have a hot and cold spigot right here. This shoots straight down, and the water is all plumbed inside as well, so it does stay nice and warm inside there. So if you're not using this in the winter, you'll leave it in. You do have an extra little light. I don't know why you need that, because you have the light right above here, you have a light right next to the door, you have a light up there, tons and tons of lighting all over the trailer. And then if you drop this down, of course you can get access, drop this down and plug it into your propane. Gives you some instructions, and then you have your drain for your water to go out into a bucket. Now, your last little storage spots here for your cutlery and also any miscellaneous stuff that you might use this for. And like I said, this could be your ultimate tailgater. It could be your ultimate off-grid prepper vehicle, whatever you want. Or maybe you just want to be able to have a nice camper and go out into the woods and not do anything crazy. But you also want to utilize an incredible kitchen, an incredible setup. I mean, you have so much space and prep over here, and it just makes for a really nice spot. And guess what? The awning comes out and covers the kitchen, which is another detail that a lot of manufacturers just totally miss. Let me show you that awning really quick. It's really hard to set up. You have to, push a button and wait for it to come out. That's the hardest part, is just waiting for it to come out. No, actually there are some legs you have to deploy. That might be the hardest part. As you can see, that just kind of rolls on out and gives you a lot of shade. Another detail I want to point out as this awning comes out is this door here is rounded. And you might be like, obviously it's rounded. Well, believe it or not, like if you let this awning go down too low, depending on where you deploy the legs at, this could get close to that door and rub. Of course, you're going to put it up a little bit higher. But we've had trailers in the past where the doors are square, and so it has a sharp edge, and you open that door and it just tears a hole right in the awning. Whoops, is that under warranty? No, that's called user error. You're stupid for opening your door when the awning is hanging out and ripping a hole in it. That's what our manufacturer said, because that kind of makes sense. It's not a manufacturer defect. Well, maybe. Manufacturer design flaw, I would definitely call it. But those are the types of things over the years that we've experienced. MDC probably at one point experienced the same thing and realized, wow, that was a bad idea. Let's go to a round door so you don't have people opening it up and tearing up the awning. Now you do have legs that come out here, and you can pull these out and they go down, and there's little areas that you can put stakes into the ground, and this actually slides farther down and you can have more height. Another nice feature about this is it gives you the ability to slant it and maybe have the rain run off in a different direction and keep you nice and dry. Another thing that I want to point out is the awning. Like I said, it goes to the kitchen, but that little track that you can see up there, that is actually for the annex. So the annex actually extends beyond that and comes out farther and drops out, so you can have better access in covering everything. Another thing that I want to point out on this awning is this is actually a port that you hook up, and it actually just plugs in and tightens. Now, you might think, what does that mean to me? Well, it means if you ever have a failure with your awning, it's incredibly easy to remove and put a new awning on it. A lot of people don't realize, wait, I don't actually have to wire it in or get an electrician out. I can just unplug it, unscrew it and unplug it. That's pretty cool. Just little details. That helps with their assembly. That helps with you as the end user for service or maintenance in the future. And another thing is, if it's easier for them to install it, it usually means it carries in the cost for you to buy it. Makes it a little bit cheaper. Now right here, this is actually new to the 2025 models. They have a vent here, and this is all aluminum, part of the diamond plating. I appreciate that. And then you have a lot more instruction here that just helps you with your pre-trip 12-month inspection. Of course, everybody doesn't realize that you're supposed to get your stuff serviced annually, and that's how you don't have issues with your trailers. Now, coming in here, we have a light. This is an Anderson plug and a cigarette lighter. And the reason why they have that here is this is a tray for an optional refrigerator. And this tray is massive. There's a lot of things in this trailer. I'm not going to go over everything. That's actually in our full walkover. You have a mat. This goes inside on the step as you're walking in. We don't want to put that in there because it's brand new and we want to keep it brand new. In here, you have a tub with a bunch of essentials that you'll need. Believe it or not, some of the essentials that MDC includes are things that, well, you would have to go buy if you were buying most trailers, like tire covers. You have some of this stuff is just extra gear. This is to make your trailer more 4 seasons capable. Of course, you got to have your hitch. This is for your DO35, the Cruise Master hitch. You also get some wheel chocks in here, and those are just it's a little detail, right? MDC. You place those on your tires before you unhook your trailer. You also have some lubricant. This is for your lugs, so you can break those. Of course, you would want to get a torque wrench to make sure you're getting to the proper torque. Another thing in here is your plug. Believe it or not, a lot of trailers don't come with plugs. And sometimes it's not the manufacturer, it's the dealer that you're buying from. Sometimes the manufacturers do include them, but then the dealers, they'll take them out and say, oh no, that's not included. And so when you're buying it, they'll be like, oh, I'll throw in the cord. It's like, come on, are you kidding me? That's not included. It's like going and buying a television without a power cord included. You can't even function the component without a power cord. It's kind of silly. Now, of course, you have just other miscellaneous things in here. You have, this is for your jacks to crank down. You also have a table post. So there's a spot under here that this is designed for to slide into, and it just gives more support to your track. So over time, it just takes the weight off the kitchen. So obviously, after you pick it up, you're gonna take all this stuff out and put it somewhere and utilize it. And then if you wanted to, you could put a refrigerator right here. This actually will hold up to a 90-liter refrigerator, which is a massive 12-volt refrigerator. Now, over to the sides, you have a bunch of things like the poles that are in this canvas material. You have more poles here that will be for your shower or your annex rooms. Some of this stuff, if you're going on a trip and you're not going to use the annex, you could just leave it at home and you don't need to worry about it. This I want to show off because I think this is important, because a lot of people say, what if the motor fails? What if or the batteries are dead? How do I get my awning in? You do have a little tool and you can slide this right up into there, and then you can hand crank it in. See? Now it takes a little bit longer, but you can do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go in and push the button and be done in a second. Hey, look, these are soft close I just noticed. Ooh, very nice. Jeez, the details. You don't need to do that, but they do. Now, I want to talk about, before we go inside, I want to talk about these windows, because these are a new design window. You can see these are actually flat. A lot of trailers, you'll see they'll have like a bubbled window. This, I just think, adds to the sleekness of the design. They also are tinted, so it's a lot harder to see inside now, but you can still see outside without any issues. Now is the moment you've been waiting for. Let's get inside this trailer. Let's talk about all of the features, the components. I also will go over the electrical system at the very end, so stay tuned for that. As we come into this trailer, I want to point out they have a cover because this is a vent. If you were to ever open that, you can, but it's closed off for the cold weather and dust. Now, this door is called an Aussie Traveler. You can see there's a little hook right here that latches the door open when you get to camp if you wanted to. If you ever had an issue with that, you have a secondary latch that goes down right here. This goes right there, and you can latch it even farther open. Of course, that would not clear the window, and that's the reason why they give you another option to be able to put it right there. Now, I'm going to latch that open and show off this screen door, because this screen door is awesome. This door is called an Aussie Traveler door. Very common in Australia. And what makes this door unique is this screen. You can see this thing is unbelievably robust. You are not running into that. You're not running out of it. You have dogs, kids, they're not breaking through this door. This is thick aluminum. And when you open this, this also has what's called the Trimark latching system. So obviously this is your standard latch. If you were just to shut the door and slam it, of course, that's not a huge latch. So what they've designed into this is 2 more latching mechanisms so that you have 3. So this comes and engages into the door jamb, as well as this one up here. So you can see that disengages. So if I go into this, I mean, it's hard to pull, but if you come up here, you can see there's some give. There's some give down here as well. Once I latch this in, there's no give anymore. I've been camping with trailers in the past that only have a single latch. Believe it or not, like when you're going off-road and contorting and twisting, there's a little bit of flex here and there with the trailer. Even in vehicles, there's a little bit of flex you can see. And I've had doors pop open, and I'm like, why is the door popping open? So I go back, I shut it, and then it pops open again. This happened when I was taking a fifth wheel for my parents up to. Their truck broke down, and so I took it up into the mountains, and every wide, windy, sharp turn I went up, the door popped open. And I was like, what is going on? That will never happen with this door because of that tri-latch mechanism. Now, of course, you shut this, engage it. Another cool thing is you can actually shut the screen door and lock it. So if you want to go for a hike, leave the dogs in here, turn on the fan and have some nice air breeze for them, you can keep it nice and safe and nobody can get in the trailer. Now, as we open this, of course, we see that there's a window here. You also have these nice curtains that open up and give you some privacy or some shade from the sun. So let's head on inside because I am freezing. inside. Ladies, I'm sure you've been waiting for this. Men, you should be excited, because when the ladies are excited, there's a higher chance of you getting what you want. As you can see, this trailer is beautiful. It truly is gorgeous. I love the modern sleekness, the gray with the black handles. I love that they've, you know, just spent a lot of time focusing on every detail. Sometimes you'll get trailers where maybe they'll do silver or chrome latches, and then when you do a black latch, you match everything as well to that styling. MDC does a really good job on their styling and what they're doing. They really are thoughtful, you know, from the black microwave opposed to maybe a silver or a chrome one, and a black faucet. You even have black drains, right? I just think it's really important, because you'll see lots of manufacturers not doing that. You know, you do a black stovetop with a black hood vent. There's still plastic on everything because we haven't removed it yet, in case you're wondering what that is, that glare. But very beautiful trailer. If you're trying to be the envy of the neighborhood, if you want to impress your friends or your neighbors, this trailer will be sure to impress. All the lighting throughout, you can see you have rope lighting, you have lighting along the floor as well. There's also a lot of lighting around your bed. I'll show you in a bit. Lighting over the stoves, you have nice LED lighting that goes all the way across the kitchen area, as well as these nice can lights throughout the ceiling. I mean, where do you start? Massive kitchen. This is a huge kitchen, right? Lots of different, you could get a cutting board and put over this to have more prep space. You have a drying rack area, so stuff will flow into the sink when you're done working. Of course, you know, you have storage space. And this stove area, if you want, you can move the pan off, and this will flip down, and this will become additional prep area. The nice thing is that as you're prepping, you can turn around and utilize the table as well. You can get down into this. They have made a little bit of adjustment from the prototype. It's a little bit wider in here now, this area. Another thing that you need to also keep in mind is this is an off-road trailer. The wider you are, the less tracks you're going to be able to take. And like I mentioned earlier, these are designed to track the vehicle. And I think that is important for some people. You do have some storage underneath here, below the sink. And as well, this is some storage. There is a lot of plumbing under here, and that space needs to be utilized for that. It is really nice to see that you have the heat duct that I mentioned earlier. So that is running here, so all of this area stays nice and warm. Back behind that heat duct is where your water and your outside shower, you can see that's the black box is your outside shower. So all of that is getting prevented from freezing, and that's why they've moved the plumbing inside and above the floor. So every trailer that we've ever dealt with that is a import, every trailer we've seen, from the Patriot campers to Opus to Black Series and OBI, that styling of trailers that come from Australia, they don't deal with the cold like we do in America. It can freeze in Texas and in Arizona, and those are generally hot states. But there are areas that get very, very cold, and all your water lines can freeze. And so there's just always not this thoughtfulness to design when it comes to cold weather. And we've talked with MDC, and they said, well, help us out. Help us figure out what we have to do to make this more Four Seasons capable. I myself personally have spent hundreds of hours designing, helping design a Four Seasons package that we added to Black Series and OBI, Conqueror. Once again, those are not Four Seasons trailers. And so we have a lot of experience in this. And I said, one of the things you have to do first is get all the water lines above the floor. And that's what they've done. They've brought all the water lines above the floor, because most Australian trailers are running all your water lines on the exterior. Now the tanks are still under there, but they've added heat tanks. Now there are some lines coming from the tank inside of the trailer here at ROA. We are already doing some testing, and we're sharing all of that with MDC to show that we can prevent even that line from freezing, which we have. We've successfully have set up a system to prevent this trailer from freezing. And we've now had this trailer out in the below freezing temperatures for 2 days now, and nothing has frozen. All the water lines are working. Everything is staying in good temps. And that's, we've seen as low as maybe the high teens so far. So there you have it. We do have a solution to make this more capable to go below 32 degrees, and really no import coming from anywhere overseas, whether even the Africans or the Australians, the imports coming in from China, none of those units are capable of going below freezing. And when we were making those capable in the past, at one point, the Black Series winter package that we were creating, it came upwards of $12,000 to $14,000 to modify because we had to enclose the entire underbelly. And this is one of the reasons why I was kind of got passionate outside by the water area, because over the years we would say these things, but it fell on deaf ears. And so we took it upon ourselves to make the product better, because we're always striving to make everything better. That's what our focus is here at ROA, to carry only the best of the best. And when you collaborate and you work with a company that also believes in making things better, it's so much more fun to work on these trailers and have these trailers, because they're collaborating and doing these things, and it makes it better for every single person in America that's going to own this trailer. But enough said, let's talk about some of the features inside of here. Obviously, we've talked about the kitchen. We do have a 3-burner Furrion stove with an oven as well. Turn that blue light on. That means you got the gas coming. You also have a light under here, and it does have a glass so you can look in and see what's cooking. You should know what's cooking. You shouldn't have to turn on the light to know what's in there, because you probably put what's in there. Underneath the stove, you do have some storage area. Once again, the plumbing and the ducts work is working throughout here to prevent everything from freezing, but you can utilize some of that space as well. Another thing in every Australian trailer I've ever seen over the years, usually some of them don't even have heaters, believe it or not. Lots of campers that are coming out from Australia don't even put heaters in it because it doesn't get cold enough. And if they do, it's a single outlet heater, so it's just blowing out at one spot. They've actually used the TRUMA varo heat, and it's ducted. So you have a duct right here, which comes out. You can see how they've added ventilation, and that's to disperse heat to other areas of the trailer. Just as we've talked things through, I said, listen, in America, if you don't get heat to it, it can freeze. And so you can see that they've done all of that. So you come over here on the side of the bed, they've added a heat duct right here, as well as ventilation. And then over to this area, you can see there's ventilation, and that area goes into where your water heater and your TRUMA. So all this heat duct is blowing into that area to prevent that area from freezing. Also in that area is where we've added the valve to shut off the outside spigot that I mentioned earlier. Now coming back into here, we also have a heat duct into the bathroom, which is very, very cool. And I didn't show this stuff in the prototype, so you can see this vent right here. If we shut this door, you can see there's a heat duct right there. Even with the door in this position, you still have the heat that will come through and radiate into here. And nobody likes a cold bum when they're going crap. When they're taking a rest on the toilet. You don't want a cold bum. Another thing is, see this floor? The toilet is actually sitting on a little elevated floor here. And the reason why that's there now is because the water lines have been moved above the floor. Another thing that I want to point out, and these are all the details that you might miss out on. And we're doing testing. We're running tests right now here at ROA. You can see it's 56 degrees inside this area because we want to make sure heat's getting, and like I said, this trailer's been sitting out in 20 and below temperatures for the last 2 days. But you can see this is the shower here, and it's all on this side of the wall, which is an interior wall. We had issues in the past where the manufacturer, when you come into the shower area, this right here is on an interior wall. So it's not going to freeze. It will be a lot harder for this to ever freeze. We've had manufacturers where they put them on the exterior wall and they would freeze over time. I'm just pointing this out because as I go through this tour and show you more of the inside, I want to talk about how incredible MDC is. Because I think that's really, really important. Because ROA Off-Road, we used to tell people, you know, if you can dream it, we can build it. Like, you want to modify something on your trailer, let us know what it is. We'll go through the trailer, we'll figure it out, and we'll do a modification for you. And it got to the point where some of our off-road trailers and imports that we were getting, people would spend 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand on doing modifications to their trailer. That's wild to me. But that was usually because the manufacturer from the beginning wasn't putting in the best stuff right out of the gate. So we would go in there and make it better because our mission statement is to always change and progress and make things extraordinarily excellent. And that's how we did it. But what's cool is syncing up with MDC. They also have a mission and they're driven to make things excellent. So we can actually do that together opposed to us just doing it by ourselves. So let's head on over here. Now, having said that, some of the modifications that we would do in the past is we would change things out to lithium. We would add solar panels on the roof. We would change, you know, cheaper Dometic ACs to TRUMA air conditioners. But as you come back here, I want to point out, we have the TRUMA, which is a 13,500 BTU air conditioner. And this is a very quiet air conditioner. When this is on low, it's a whisper. You can barely hear this blowing. I mean, you can hear it, but it's very quiet. You can watch a movie in bed and not be disturbed with a loud fan. It is very quiet on low. On high, it does kick up and put a lot of cold air into it, but once it cools down, you can put it on low, and this thing is so quiet. Some other air conditioners, the Dometic ACs, sometimes have one fan speed, or they might have 2 or 3, but they all sound the same, and it's loud. They all sound loud. You also, outside of the air conditioner, you have a very easy way to manage your cooling and heating is turning on these Sirocco fans. These things are awesome. You actually have timers. There's like a 3 variable speed, and then you have multiple timers, so you can have it run for like 40 minutes or a few hours. So you just adjust that timer and it will automatically turn off, or you can just leave it on running continually. These things get the air moving like crazy. I love these fans, and they have a lot of adjustability, right? So you can move them in lots of different. People are like, are you going to chop your fingers off? No, it's fine. You're not going to chop your fingers off. But see, this goes into a lot of different positions. You can adjust it and have it blow right on you at night. These are radical. Cool. Emphasis on the cool. Now, of cool while you're lounging on this queen size bed. This is a queen. You can open up these windows, and these windows are very cool. They're polycarbonate windows. They're dual pane, so that does make it so they're very good in the cold and the heat. It's going to prevent that air from coming through because there's a gas in the middle of the pane. And then they do have these 4 locks, and the cool thing about these is they have different settings. Once you hear that click, you have that nice setting, and you can actually pull down this screen, and this screen is ultra fine, so you're not going to get any type of bugs coming through or penetrating through this, and you can have some more fresh cool air coming in to keep your trailer nice and cool. I don't want to keep it cool. It's like 20 degrees outside now, and I want to close it, but it does have more settings. I'll show you. That's a setting, and then you can go up, and that's your final setting. And you have this big window on both sides, and this creates massive airflow with these fans. And in the summer, you can really get it nice and cool in here. You also have an additional setting that some people don't know about. If you come in here, there's a little track right here. You can actually go into this track, and it's still cracked open. You can't really tell, but it is. The nice thing about doing that is you can close the screen. It helps with condensation or just kind of keeping some fresh air in here. And then you can turn on a fan and it will actually suck air through that crack, but it's obviously not open. It's like in a locked position. So you could leave your trailer and still have some fresh air coming in through that little crack. Of course, when you go off-roading or driving, you don't want dust coming in, so you pull it all the way beyond that center track and go right there, and then you're fully locked and engaged. And I've never seen dirt penetrate through these windows. These windows are sealed very well. And then besides the screen, you can bring this up, and this becomes your privacy. Now, this is something I've never seen any of the imports do, because a lot of them use this shade, but they generally do it in reverse. They put the shade on the top down, and then they put the screen this way. Now, the cool thing about this is, say you want to get some nice sunlight in, but you maybe want a little bit of privacy. So you lift it up, and this actually gives you privacy. You can change because nobody can see, but you still get that light coming in through the top. We've actually had a lot of people request when we sold other trailers to reverse this, and we're like, yeah, that makes sense. But MDC probably heard the exact same thing from their customers, over 40,000 trailers. And they said, let's just turn them up, and because this makes more sense to have them like this. And then when you do close it off all the way, these are very dark. This trailer gets nice and dark at night. And sometimes when I've slept in it in the morning, I don't even know what time it is. Like, the sun is out, but because these blinds are so, I don't want to say they're totally blacked out, but they're pretty close. Anyway, now let's go into here. We have a nice storage area, and look how they just put this gas strut in here. You also have the soft close, and this is a good amount of storage, and it kind of dips down into there, so you have more storage back there. I don't know if you can tell my hand, so it's the whole length of my hand. And then this obviously is going to drop down, soft close and lock. Now these latches, I don't know if I mentioned these latches, but these latches are actually locking. So there's a twist. So you push it in, twist it, and then pull up. And of course on this drawer, that's not a big deal, but if you're going off-roading and you're putting stuff in your kitchen, you're going to definitely want that locked. Coming over to here, you have your clothing rod. You can hang up your clothes in there, and it also goes pretty deep, so you can have some deeper clothes, but it actually has a lot of depth in there. My wife does these traveling bins or bags. We use them for our suitcases when we travel. We also use those and throw them down there. So sometimes you got underwear or socks and you can like stack them down there, and it's really easy to reach down and pull it out. Another thing, look at this. I love that they've just kept with the theme of black. And this is the new USB-C and a standard USB. And then you have a cigarette lighter here. This is great for like a CPAP machine. Sometimes that's the only thing that they actually have. So if you need that as an older couple, or you need that for help for breathing, you have that option. This right here is a wireless charging pad. And then of course you have shore power, but this will also work off the inverter as well. Now coming over here, we have more storage. This is going to be some of your shirts and maybe underwear, whatever you want to put in there. This trailer really does have a good amount of storage for a couple. Another thing that I want to point out here is this right here is a dimmer. So you can go nice and dim and not disturb your significant other, you know, maybe while they fall asleep and you want to read a book. Another thing that I want to point out, I hope this is okay that I'm saying this, but I reached out to the head engineer because there used to be like a halo blue light right there. This is quite common in the industry. I've had lots of trailers with little blue lights, and it drives me crazy at night. So that light would always be on. It would never turn off. Whether this was on or off, it was just always there. And I said, it kind of bothers me at night. That blue light's just shining on me. And he's like, well, let me look into it. And look, it's not there anymore. They sent us a whole write-up on how the dealers can switch it out and make that blue light go away. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's so cool that the manufacturer does things like that. They really listen. And then of course we have a really nice leather. This is a faux leather headboard, and that serves as lots of different purposes. One for your head, comfort, but also for insulative in the bed area. You always want that. But yeah, that's dimmable. And then of course we come down and you got to have his and hers plugs and outlets and charging pads, more closet space. And like I said, the shirts drop down in there. And then of course, this is the same, and you have a nice big window and another fan, his and hers, got to please them all. Now, the last thing I want to point out over in this bedroom area is this dome. You can actually poke your head up through here and check out your solar panels. You could even get on the roof. This goes up and then it can actually drop down, and there's a locking mechanism. And so it actually wouldn't rain in here, but there would still be airflow in here, and you could close the screen, or you can go total blackout, and then you can also turn off the lights. It's cold outside, so I'm going to shut it up. Now you have a television right here. This is a 12-volt TV, so it goes right into this cigarette lighter. It's also hooked up onto the cable. So there is a roof TV antenna, so you can get high definition over air channels, or we can easily replace this and put a TV of your choice. Sometimes people like having their whatever Samsung or Sony TV or their Apple TV. That's easy enough for us to do. And there's a 120 volt plug right behind there, so you can have that option. I've mentioned this already. Our mission at ROA is to carry the best off-road trailers in the world, best off-grid products in the world. And we want to pair that with the best before, during, and after delivery experience. Sometimes when I compare with previous trailers, I don't mean to necessarily hurt their feelings, but the reality is sometimes manufacturers are not always improving and making things better, and that's why we don't work with them anymore. There's little to silly things, like I mentioned, an outlet behind the TV. We have manufacturers that don't put outlets behind TVs in the past. Not right now. None of our manufacturers right now are like, the pause lineups are amazing. MDC is amazing. By far the best manufacturers we've ever worked with, ever. But there's manufacturers over the years that like just don't do simple things like that. And we ask them, can you just do it? And they go, no, or like, why? And it's just like, leave me alone, you know, ROA, why do you always want everything to get better? Why do you want to improve everything? Like, just take it the way it is. I designed it this way. You should be happy with it. And we're always like, yeah, but sometimes it's not what we want. It's what the customers want, right? The customers are requesting, you know, a television, and you didn't put a television in it. So we need to put a television in it, but there's no outlet in any area where we would want to put the television. And so the fact that MDC gives you a TV is amazing. But if you want a different TV, well, you can easily do that because there's an outlet behind the TV. And it's just like little details like that really just make your experience of ownership a lot easier. And also like, so we like I said, we like to do what people ask. You want an outlet somewhere? We'll put an outlet somewhere. But guess what? Like, that's going to cost you more money. You're already spending a lot of money on a trailer, and if you're going to get another outlet, ROA is going to install it for you, but we got to charge for that because it's cost us money to do that. But you don't have to do that in here if you want a different TV. We don't have to get you a TV and an outlet. You already got that set up for yourself. So let's head on towards the dinette area and then move towards the other side of the kitchen and then the bathroom. Now, as we're working our way back into the dinette area, this booth area is massive. I am not a small guy. I'm 6 feet tall, 267 pounds. And if you're a true fan, you'll know that that's a good thing, because last time I said my weight, it was more than that on the last video. So trying to slim down for the new year and just to be healthier. This table drops down into a bed. There's a cushion that fills in this spot, and you can easily throw an extra person on this. This trailer really is designed for a couple. This is a perfect couples trailer. It's not designed for a family. We have bunk bed model trailers. If you're interested, you can go look at those. This trailer really is designed for a couple and maybe a guest. Bring a grandchild, maybe a couple with one kid. My wife and I could easily use this trailer with our daughter. She's an only child, but the kids love bunk beds, so just get them a bunk bed model. These cushions are very beautiful. I think they're very premium looking. You have this nice diamond stitching, and it's more modern. Sometimes you go diamond stitching throughout. That's not as modern. I like that they put the MDC USA logo on there. And you have to understand, almost everything in the MDC product lineup is custom built in-house. They do this stuff. A lot of manufacturers don't actually do their upholstery, so they can't do simple things like embroidering their logo on it. And the reason is because they have to outsource all their upholstery. And the fact that they do it in-house just gives them the flexibility to do those things and gives it a more premium feel too. But once again, look at this. I'm one person and a large person, and I can comfortably sit here. I would say you can put 4 adults at this table without any issues, 3 easily, a couple. You have more room than you could ever need at this table. And it is on a single post. And man, I want to talk about something else. I'm getting a little bit too ranty in this video, but I actually went down to check out how this was mounted. And this table has a through bolt through the floor and a metal plate underneath the floor that it's mounted to. And I think it has, like, I have to go double check, anywhere from a half a dozen to a dozen bolts that's mounting this floor to it. I've seen tables where they just screw it, right? Most trailers in America have a plywood floor and they'll just use a wood screw to screw the table in. But over time it's rocking and moving and you can just rip it out. This actually has bolts that go through and get mounted to a steel plate underneath the trailer. That's bananas, because I was thinking, oh, maybe I can move this plate up and just unscrew it and move the table around. No, it's not that easy. You have to go underneath and actually pull the bolts out and everything. But that tells me this thing, off-roading, this table is never going to come out of the floor. Like, it's just not going to, because they have so many bolts holding this table down. Speaking of the floor, we have a linoleum, and underneath the floor, the subfloor, which is very important for you to understand, it is non-wood. It's a polymer composite material, so it cannot rot, it cannot decompose over time. This thing I mean, I guess in a long time it could decompose, everything can, but not in your lifetime. This wood is a full composite floor material and it's like a plastic. So if you are going into the river, you're getting mud splashed up, you're not gonna have to ever worry about rotting. Same with the walls. Obviously cabinetry is wood, but usually cabinetry is wood in every trailer ever made, and that makes it very warm and premium feeling. But you're not gonna have to worry with any wood in the floor whatsoever. Okay, let's move to this cabinetry and look through this. So lots of storage up here all the way across. I want to point out something. You see this MDC logo, USA, once again, all laser cut. That's just covering some wiring harnesses. You'd be shocked how often you open a cupboard in most trailers and the wiring is just sitting there. And then also look how everything's caulked along there. It's just finishing it out. I was talking with the founder and owner, and he says, I think he said, I'm a little OCD. I like things just to look perfect. I love that finished look. And when you look around this trailer, you see that everywhere. You see caulking all over the place. And some trailers, you don't see that. And the reason, think about it, it takes a lot more time. Like, that's labor intensive. A human does that. Robots don't do that. You have to get a person to caulk every single one of these cabinets and lines. And that takes a long time, a lot of precision. And it's like they do it with a tool. You know, some of them, my techs in Utah are actually pretty good, but I've had some people say it's almost hard to replicate. It almost looks perfect. It looks like it's done by a robot, but it's not. Now you're gonna drop this down and you have that soft close so it's not slamming. And then of course you can lock it up. Moving along here, we have more storage. We also have an outlet up here. So in the kitchen, you're gonna have an outlet here. This will also be for your microwave. You also have an outlet over towards the TV. Right here, we have the stereo system. These are your tank gauges. So you have your 2 freshwater and your gray water tank. Turn it off. Hey, that's an important thing, just to be able to turn it off at night when you're sleeping. You don't always want all these little lights running. The fact that you can turn it off, to me, is very important. Of course, you have your fan and your light. Now the TRUMA, I want to point a few things out on this. They've integrated both the water heater and the furnace into this system. Previous models, they were separated. But you now have heat, which is the picture of the little RV. And then you also have water, which is your water heater. So similar to like the TRUMA combi, but these are separate systems, but it's all integrated into the TRUMA system itself. This TRUMA system is awesome. I turned it down because it's getting too warm in here actually. And we're all wearing jackets up in the mountains. So thought I'd turn that down. Massive window in the kitchen area. So when you're out, you know, just enjoying, you can have that screen or you can open this up and just have beautiful views out to the mountains. I just want to point out stuff over here. Like this right here is a wiring harness area. So there's going to be wires behind there, and see how they put this protective plate over it. I just love that they do stuff like that. We could make this tour another 4 hours if you really want to get into the details. But one thing I want to point out is this refrigerator. This is a 12-volt refrigerator. It's a 6.2 cubic fridge, which is a lot bigger than you think. If that's not enough, you can always put that 90-liter refrigerator out in the slide. But I think this is a great size. You have a freezer drawer down here, and then you have the refrigerator above it. Let me show off this fridge. And another little detail, this is a Norcold. I believe this is a Thetford company, which is that company out of UK, which also does their stovetops. They have a latch, but MDC wanted a double latch. So you grab that and that latches out of the way. And then you can open this up and be able to utilize this fridge. There's a lot of adjustability up and down to move these things around. You have sliders in here to keep everything in place. Also, I love on these Norcolds, this little piece slips up. It's all taped in right now, so you can't really see it. But this actually comes up and it clips in place, and so it makes a little lip so stuff can't slide out while in transit, and it holds it in really well. And then, of course, you shut this here and you lock it in. I highly doubt this is ever gonna come open during transit. And I'm guessing that came from feedback from MDC customers. I don't know, I had never have actually asked that. Above the fridge, I wanna show off this panel. There's a lot going on in here. May seem overwhelming at first, but it's really not. Some of these things you just turn on one time when you go out camping. Like your refrigerator, you're gonna turn that on. See right here, these lights illuminate. You're gonna set your freezer temp, your fridge temp. They are dual zone, so you set them separately. Also 12 volt, that is super, super important. It's not a propane fridge. Propane fridges, I think, are fire hazards and they're kind of just getting obsolete. But when you go camping, you're gonna turn your fridge on one time and you're never gonna turn it off. And same thing with some of these, you might just turn it on. So obviously it's cold weather. We're out testing this in the below freezing temps. So we're gonna have the furnace on the whole time. These are water tank heaters. So you have 2 fresh tanks and you have the gray tank. So these heaters are putting heat down into the tanks on the exterior. Here at ROA, we added that heat line from that small line from the tank to inside to prevent it from freezing. And now everything's operating beautifully. Outside of that, you have all your switches that engage whatever component you need to work. In our full walkthrough video, if you were to buy a trailer from us, we'll go over all that. And when you come in person to pick it up, we'll also go over it all. Now, these right here are fuses. Now, I really appreciate these. Essentially, if something goes out in the trailer, you just come here and you push a button and it pops the fuse back in, or it will pop out if it's blown. Most trailers are using still a very archaic automotive fuse. So like your fuse blows and then you go get tweezers and pop it out, check it, and then you put a new fuse in it. These are all trip fuses. So they're just gonna pop out and you're gonna push it back in. Coming down to here, we have our battery disconnect. And then right here, we have our new Renegy system. And this thing is so cool. I'm gonna actually just take that plastic off so you can see how shiny and beautiful it is. So now you can see this. We just turned some lights off so you can not have glare. But this thing gives you your exact percentage, 93%. Tells you what you're consuming. We're consuming 21 amps, 24 amps. Now this is gonna be a lot of different things. We're running every single light in the trailer. We're running all the heated tanks. We're running the furnace. So outside lights take a lot of power. Those are actually pretty big energy consumption, energy hogs. But see, I turn off those heated tanks and it drops down to 16. So you're consuming about 5 to 10 amps on those. Now remember, we have an 800 amp hour system with over 1200 watts of solar. So it just depends on where you're at, how that's gonna all work out. And then you actually have a lot of different features on here. You can actually hook your phone up. So you have an app and you can monitor all of this stuff from your phone. Other cool little features on this, you have a leveling feature. So you can actually see if you're a level. Currently, we are not level, and you got to do some setting up. And then you can also do this from your phone. So when you're in your truck and you get to camp, you can pull out your phone and see if the trailer's level or not. And then this is just different features. There's a lot of customization in this, which generally it's set up where you don't need to deal with it. You're going to see your current power is dropping. This is your main home screen, and it says you have 29 hours until you're dead. It's nighttime. So we went from 94% to 93%. We got all the lights on. We're cranking a lot of power out of here. Obviously in the morning when the sun comes up, it's gonna start charging everything back up again. Also, it's active, right? So if you turn off a light, that 29 hours will go up to 30 something hours. So it just is always trying to monitor and track when you're gonna be dead or alive, right? And then of course, get to some sunny skies so you can get the solar coming in. Let's move on into the bathroom. This bathroom is beautiful and it is large. So you have your light switch right here. You also have a window in the bathroom with your blinds, toilet paper holder right here, and it also has a cover so it will actually go down on your toilet paper roll. And you believe it or not, when you're in a moving vehicle, sometimes your toilet paper will unravel. You get to camp and you see toilet paper everywhere. That's the reason why they put that on there. And that's a little detail sometimes you might miss if you're not actually out using your trailers. This latch right here is just unbelievably robust. Look at this. This thing is massive. So you're gonna open this and then you can actually shut the door, and as you can see over here, there's another latching mechanism. So you can lock the door and nobody can come in. There's also a latching mechanism down here, which you just use your foot to pop that up, and then you use your foot to push that down and lock it in place. Of course, that's not the main locking mechanism. This is the one that really holds it in place while you're driving. You always want to put that up in transit. Over here, you can see we have a towel rack holder, and you can actually put multiple towels on this, 3 to be exact. Now this toilet area is really cool. It actually swivels. So if you want to kind of adjust that a little bit. But this toilet area, I'm just going to sit down to show off this toilet because I'm a large guy. And I think it's really important to see how comfortable I am. I have very broad shoulders. Like I said, almost 270 pounds. And this is comfortable for me. Also, this space right here allows me to be able to use my hand to go into the backward motion. It's the wiping motion. So it works. There's a lot of space in here. Also, when you shut this, the toilet paper holder is right here, which is a perfect location because you can pull it and do your business. Awesome mirror. Awesome lighting in here for you ladies doing your makeup. Guys, shaving your beards. I try not to do that too frequently. Coming up here, we have more hooks, tons and tons of hooks. Let me tell you, generally when you buy a new trailer, you realize there's nowhere to hang towels or miscellaneous goods. So you find yourself going to Walmart and buying towel rack holders, hooks. You find yourself buying little bar soap holders, which is sitting right here, or hand towel holders. It's all here for you, and it's all matching in black, which is what you want. Now, coming down over here, let's show off this storage. This is some of your starter toilet deodorizers and your instructions. And then you can come all the way down and you have lots of storage space for everything your heart could desire. And then of course you do have this in here, and that's a lot of storage. You can utilize a lot of this space in spite of that plumbing being there. But once again, this plumbing needs to be here because you need that heat coming in. And they've added these vents on here to make sure heat can penetrate in here. Now, also, I want to point out this. I love that they actually put in this aluminum box where this goes. You know, they didn't have to do that. A lot of times you'll have that plumbing just sitting in there and you'll have like the exposed cutout wall. It's really nice that they finish it out. Everything gets finished out with MDC. Also, like, see this little circular grommet? They've screwed this in, and you can't tell from the video, but these are rubber. So this plumbing is going through, and it has a rubber grommet in there, so it can't actually move around and rub against wood, which over time could obviously destroy the wood. Same thing with this. See that? How it's going to just sit in here. It's not going to be rubbing against wood. That's one of the things that they also do. At some point, hopefully we can do a factory tour and see how they install everything on the guts inside out, because they've showed us a lot of stuff, and we do actually have some great footage that we'll throw in here and there. But inside the actual aluminum walls, because inside the actual walls, it's an aluminum skeleton with the aluminum composite panels on the exterior and the laminate on the interior. But inside there, you're running wiring, and through each channel they put this rubber grommet so those electrical wires don't rub and get destroyed over time. Outside of that, which I'll show you when we get down to the battery area, they also wrap the wiring in a hard corrugated plastic tubing, and then they put it through and have also rubber grommets. So it's like triple protected, because you have the natural skin that protects it, you have the corrugated skin, and then you also have these rubber grommets. And these are details that you just don't really see in a lot of trailers. Even the stuff that's coming from overseas, you just don't see it. I've seen almost every premium trailer on, like, I've been in Earth Roamers, I've been in brooders. We had a brooder, right? We have Airstreams that we get traded in, and the attention to detail is just not there on a lot of these trailers like it is with MDC. We have a nice porcelain basin bowl. In the prototype, if you saw it, it was plastic, but now in the actual production line, you have water, and you have the sink, and that kicks on, and I'm already getting warm water. That's what you want in a trailer. Yeah, and this is just really nice. We've been playing around with the water system a lot. It's plugged in right here, and you have a plug that you can unplug it and drain the sink out. Another thing that I really want to point out quickly is this mirror. Like, I'm 6 feet tall, and I can see without crouching like way low. I can actually see myself. For you ladies, this is nice too, is because you can work in the mirror if you want and not be like way overshooting it. Like I said, I'm 6 feet tall, so if you're 6'6", yeah, you're gonna be above it and you're gonna have to crouch. But a 6 foot male, this is a comfortable mirror to be able to see yourself and do whatever you want to do in the morning. Do your hair. And then of course we have additional storage space up here and everything is just nicely finished on the inside. All the way to the inside, everything is finished. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Hey, every time I say I love it, you should take a shot of whiskey and see how wasted you are at the end of this tour. You gotta rewind though and watch it again so that you can start the game. It's a game, it's a drinking game. I don't drink, by the way. Okay, we're going inside the shower now because this is one of the most important places of the RV. This is why you buy an RV or a trailer, right? It's bed, toilet, and shower, right? You're sick and tired of sleeping on the ground in a tent, so you get a trailer. And then if you get a regular trailer, you just go to campgrounds and it's like, well, I'm trading neighbors. Why am I doing that? So you get an off-grid or off-road trailer so you can go to a forest road and have your own little space, and it's beautiful. But you don't want to smell, you don't want to go in the woods, and you don't want to sleep on the ground. So this is one of the very most important things you have. As you can see, this is pretty much a one-piece fiberglass. What I mean by one-piece fiberglass is this fiberglass is working itself around here, all the way around over here. It drops down. This is still one piece. There's no seams in here, right? And then it works its way down into the drain. I have a nice shower pan in here. Why do I say one piece? Because some manufacturers don't use one piece fiberglasses because it costs more money. So sometimes they'll have they'll put a tub, like a shower pan, down there. And then they'll just put a wall up against it, and then they'll have to caulk the bottom of it. Or they'll put the corners up against it, and then they'll caulk a line here. Now, what's the issue with doing this? Well, your trailer is a house on wheels. I try to remind people, listen, trailers aren't perfect. When you go out and you're towing it down the highway, imagine your house going on wheels and going down the highway. It's like going through a little 3.0 earthquake, maybe a 4.0 earthquake. Now put your house and go off-roading or on a dirt road. You're talking 5.0, 6.0 earthquake, right? Everything's rattling, shaking, shifting. And like your house, things are gonna break. A trailer, potentially, things are gonna break. We don't have a lot of things breaking on the MDCs, which is really, really wonderful and exciting. But still, it's inevitable that something's gonna happen. That's why I have a warranty. But if you can mitigate some of those problems by manufacturing the trailer better, it's really nice for you, the user. And having a seam on your wall or down in the bottom, that shifting and moving over time, that's gonna crack. And then you're gonna get leaks into the backside of your walls. And it's just not fun. Like, I don't wanna do that. Like, I always tell our manufacturers, I don't wanna do warranty, and I don't think you wanna pay for warranty, so let's just make the trailers better. Let's make them the best trailers out on the market so we can avoid that, because customers also don't wanna have their trailers fixed. They just wanna go out and camp and have fun. So that's the goal. That's the goal. We wanna get you out camping and having fun. Now this shower is awesome. This soap dispenser moves up and down. This shower head moves up and down as well. I am 6 feet tall, and as you can see, your floor to ceilings, I think, is close to 6'5" or 6'6". So you taller gentlemen, you have a lot of headroom in this. You have a light in here, and then you have a fan that goes in and out, exhausts. And then you have these nice towel holders. This is also great for like bathing suits, right? You want to hang something up to dry. Over here, you do have a little soap tray. Put all your stuff up here, hang towels, whatever it is. Okay, if you've stayed to the end, I'm now gonna get into some electrical stuff. I know you guys love to learn about this stuff, and maybe the ladies do too. But I wanna go over some of this stuff underneath the guts, essentially. It's like the engine, the horsepower of the trailer. I wanna go over some of this stuff. I'm gonna start with really basic, go a little bit more complex. I'm not a tech, so I'm not gonna go crazy complex. But before we get down there, I wanna just show off, this table does have a lot of maneuverability. So if you're fat, you can go this way. If you're skinny, you can go this way. Also gives you more space in the hallway. But to get this table down, in the down position, there's a little lever, and then there's a little footstep there. And this thing goes down nicely. And then of course, there is a option where, like I said, there's a cushion that fills in this spot, and then you have a bed. So now let's get these cushions out of the way. I know this is like major anticipation. You just want to see the batteries, the electrical systems. But I have to point things out before I go down to the batteries, okay? So before we get down to these batteries, I know you want to get there, but I got to talk about some details here. First of all, look at this, piano hinges. Ooh. Listen, if you don't believe me, you can go to Home Depot and look at the cost of a piano hinge versus just a little teeny hinge. Lots of trailers don't even put hinges. They just put the boards here and they just kind of like sit there and you lift them up. Some of them will put like just a 2-screw hinge. They put piano hinges. Why? Well, a piano hinge is gonna hold up way better than anything else. So there we have it. This is the electrical system. And if you're an electrical wizard, you should appreciate this. I mean, I said I want to start basic. And like I said, I'm not super technical, so I'm not going to go much beyond basic. But this is an 800 amp hour battery bank. There's 2 400 amp batteries in here, which I think is phenomenal. And this is the reason. So first of all, this wiring system is integrated into the Renegy. So you can see there, it's actually screwed in. Really good connection. You're not dealing with terminals on the top of the batteries like you might with many batteries. And so there's a lot of user error when you're screwing on terminals. What if somebody doesn't do a lock washer? What if they don't torque it properly? It can loosen up it over time, and that can actually create an electrical fire, or it could create issues. You also have these Anderson plugs. You're using massive gauge. This wiring is huge, and that's the way it's supposed to be when you're putting so much amperage through here. But one of the cool things is you only have a few connecting points. You have 2 on the batteries, and then the batteries are coming in here, going to a bus bar, going through this massive shutoff system, which is going through the bus bars here, over into this area. You have fuses or relays, massive fuses here, all of these fuses. And look how they cover everything. How cool is that? That they just cover it up. And I just love how everything is so perfectly tidy in here. You can really access everything. All of the wiring harnesses are going through, you know, these protective skins, so it's not rubbing on the trailer. Look at how they put L brackets in here to hold everything together. I just think they've done a phenomenal job. All of these wirings, which is your main 120 volt, they put into this corrugated protective covering, like I mentioned. If anything goes into a wall, it will have this on the exterior. If you get under the trailer, everything is in this corrugated plastic, and that's just going to protect everything more long term. Now, you might be wondering, what does all of this mean? You have an MPPT solar charge controller. Well, I'm not sure if any import we've ever had an MPPT solar charge controller. I know Black Series use PWMs. I know OBI use PWMs. Conquer use PWMs. What that means is, in layman's terms, a PWM, I would compare it to a tube television. An MPPT, I would compare it to a smart TV, like a LED flat screen, whatever, smart TV. So it's just the technology. The PWM, it works, but it's old technology. It's not as efficient. It doesn't collect it doesn't regulate things as well. The MPPT is the best solar charge controller on the market right now. So that's what you want in a trailer. And that's not what you get in a lot of trailers that come. And these cost a lot more money, by the way. So this is the Rego Renegy system, and it's all together. You also have another Renegy system right here, which is also a DC to DC charger. This goes up to that Anderson plug that I was mentioning in the beginning, where you could hook to your truck. And so this actually will put a higher amperage from your truck to your batteries. It says it's rated for a 50 amp maximum charging current. Now, some of those 7 pins are going to give you a few amps. Also, you have good ventilation down here. You have ventilation over here and to here. So you have a lot of ventilation all around this entire area, which is also very important. People don't realize a lot of manufacturers don't ventilate things properly, and then you get a lot of overheating issues. It's just like how everything is here is zip tied together. Like, is it necessary? Maybe, maybe not, but it's nice that they do it. You got some fusing off of these right here too, and everything's labeled too. Look at that. What a crazy idea. Label your fuses. And you even know what size the fuse is without opening it and getting into it. Oh my gosh, like, I love this, and you don't understand how frustrating it is to have manufacturers that don't do stuff like this. Come down here, you have rubber protective skins screwed in. So this stuff is just like nice and tidy up against the wall. Why necessary? No. Do they do it? Yes. Maybe it is necessary to MDC. And because of that, I love it. I feel like I have a very high standard of how things should be done, and ROA does. But MDC also has an extremely high standard, and I just appreciate that so much. All this wiring is just done so well. I just love that. They just really take their time into doing this. Now, let me tell you what a standard trailers, more and more nowadays, you're seeing lithium systems get into trailers. But I want you to understand what this lithium system really is. So this is 800 amp hours of lithium. If you were to go out and buy a new Airstream that doesn't have lithium, the standard battery in most trailers is an AGM or a gel acid battery. An AGM, if you wanted to get 800 amps of batteries on a standard trailer. So I'm talking about you go out and buy any trailer in the market, because a lot of people are like, why are these trailers so expensive? Well, we just got an Airstream on trade and it had 2 AGM batteries. Those batteries were 100 amp hour batteries. So you had a 200 amp hour battery bank. This is 800, but it's lithium. They had AGM. The difference between lithium and AGM is you can drain these at a much higher, you have a lot more capacity to drain. Depends on the battery company, but 80, 90%. You can drain this down beyond 90%. An AGM battery, you can only drain 50% and then it's completely dead. So even though it's 100 amp hour, you only have 50 usable amps. Those 800 amps are pretty much all usable. So that Airstream that we just took on trade, in order to get it to a comparable size, we would have to get 16 AGM batteries to get these 2 batteries. So that's a powerful battery system. So a lot of people wonder, can you run your air conditioner off-grid? Generally on most trailers, absolutely not. On this trailer, on these batteries, yes, you can. It's a limited amount of time. Obviously, if you watch your charger system here, see how fast it's charging. It depends on where you're at the time of the year. You can crank that AC on, get it nice and cool, turn it off, turn it on low. You just have to monitor it. The solar panels are obviously going to charge it back up. But this Airstream that we had 2 AGM batteries. Now think about that. An AGM battery is about that big. You're talking stacks of batteries. You'd have to have 16 feet. They're about a foot tall. It's like a 2-story building in just stacked up batteries. It's crazy when you think about it. AGM batteries or gel batteries or lead acid batteries generally weigh anywhere from 50 to 80 pounds, depending on the type of battery, the density of it and everything. But deep cycle batteries, you're running, say, 50 to 70 pounds. That's almost 800, 900, all the way up to over 1,000 to 1,200 pounds. These batteries all combined are a couple hundred pounds. And that is huge when you're talking about going off-road or having a trailer in general. To load it up with another 1,000 pounds worth of batteries, that's asinine, right? And so that's the benefit of having a lithium battery over a standard AGM or gel battery. I think they should be dead. I don't know why manufacturers still do it. Actually, I do, because these batteries can range anywhere from $3 to $5 grand just for one of them. An AGM battery is going to run $100, $150. So the Airstream put $300 worth of batteries. Right here, you're looking at, I mean, the MSRP on these batteries, I think, is over $5 grand. So you're looking at $10,000 just in 2 batteries. And that's why you can run the air conditioner off-grid. That's why you can run a television or a microwave off-grid, because you have an incredible battery bank system paired with an inverter system, which I want to show the inverter system off as well over here. This is your 3,000 watt Rego Renegy inverter system. This allows you to be able to run your microwave, your air conditioner, television, plug in electronics. Any of your outlets are all wired into this system. And so you can go off grid and run essentially any type of electrical component. You know, your batteries, obviously you got to monitor your batteries, but a blow dryer, a curling iron, a shaver, anything that you can think about plugging into an outlet, you can do that because of this system. And these systems can generally range anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 just for this inverter system. So there's a lot of value added into all of these electrical systems, and people don't always realize that. Now, as we come down into this area, this is how you're going to actually control your inverter. So you turn it on right there, and that will give you the power to your outlets. I like it right here because it's right when you walk in. You can do it for the outside outlets, the inside outlets. This right here is your main spotlights, which is on the front and the back of the trailer. This right here is your step light, which you can see right here. And then, of course, you have your outside, which it's labeled yellow or white. And it also says the left side versus the right side. And then this is your isolator, and this you always leave on. We go into more instructions in our instruction videos or during pickup on this. And then, of course, for safety, you have a fire extinguisher. Another thing that you have for safety, this right here, Some people get worried that in the night they're gonna wake up and fall into this hole. So MDC gives you a nice little step right there so you don't fall into that hole at night. As you can see, it's right off the bed. Over here, you have instructions, you have manuals for everything, but you also have a little scan tool right here where you can get your manuals and other information on the trailer right here. Obviously you need internet to download it, but try to get that saved. And then you also have a checklist. A lot of people say, man, I wish somebody had a checklist, or if you could make a checklist, and you do. Raise step, check support legs, locked up. You can go all the way down this, shut the toilet vent, all of these different things. You can go through here and have your checklist. So when you go into camp, going away from camp, or going on camping trips, you can really escape with confidence. And that is MDC's motto, is to escape with confidence. Well, like I said, MDC's motto is escape with confidence. I feel extremely confident in saying with an MDC trailer, you can escape with confidence. Of all the trailers we've carried, we have seen the least amount of warranty issues with these trailers. Like, it's just the facts. But also, not saying there's not issues, but the manufacturer stands behind the issues. And all of our manufacturers that we're working with nowadays, they all stand behind their products. Otherwise, we wouldn't be working with them. I've mentioned multiple times in this video that ROA's mission is to deliver the best products in the world. And we're always striving and trying to go out and find manufacturers. We have manufacturers that reach out to us almost every single month and say, can you carry our products? And we start vetting and going through it. And we've learned from experience that you just don't say yes to everything. You know, at a time we did say yes to things at first glance. And now we're becoming a lot more picky and choosy about what we say yes to, is because there needs to be not just an attention to quality, but there also has to be attention to service and support, because all of those things are important. Because we can't fulfill our mission by delivering the best trailers in the world paired with the best experience before, during, and after the sale, because after the sale is really important for us. And if we can't support, if we can't get parts, if we can't do warranty, then we can't deliver on our mission as well. People sometimes give me grief about saying we carry the best trailers, because they're like, you always say all your trailers are the best. When you were carrying trailers 7 years ago, you said those were the best. And I said, well, at the time I did feel like they were the best thing on the product. And that's our mission, is we're always looking for the best. And I think if you were to go and ask Bill Gates about Windows 98, if you asked him, hey, what do you think of Windows 98? He'd probably say, man, it sucks compared to what there is right now. But at the time, it was one of the best things in the world. It was the best operating system in the world. It doesn't mean you don't change. Another Bill Gates quote, because I like Bill Gates, is he said, in 3 years from now, our products will be obsolete. The question is, are we going to make them obsolete, or is somebody else going to make them obsolete? So same thing here with ROA. Every 3 years, we're going to try to make the trailers that we're carrying obsolete, because we're going to be constantly pushing to make them better. So what we had 2 years or 3 years or 4 years ago will not be the best thing. It will be obsolete, because we're going to always be pushing for innovation and new and better. And yeah, if you don't like that, then maybe we're not the right place for you to work with, but we're always pushing the envelope. We always want to be working with the best manufacturers that deliver and build the best trailers on the market. I do feel very proud to be a dealer for MDC. I think they're a phenomenal company. I believe the team behind the product is just as important as the product. I've not met anybody that I don't just absolutely love. I think they're incredible. I think this trailer's incredible. If you're wanting to see one of these trailers, come check them out in person, put your hands on it, feel it, touch it. It really will blow you away. We have these trailers in Utah. We have them in Arizona. We have them in Colorado Springs. We have them in South Carolina. You want to come check out this trailer, you're going to love it. We have literally the lineup of the best trailers in America right now. I know there's some other trailers out there that are arguably as good, but we have some of the best, and I will hold to that, because that's what we're always striving to do. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something. Go down below. There's a brochure with more specs and more information. If I didn't cover everything, you'll have more information below. You can also sign up. There's going to be an email sign up, and we'll actually send out exclusive information on the 19 that you can't get on YouTube. We won't release on YouTube. So go down and sign up for that email list, and we'll be shooting out some little information, trivia. Sometimes it's just how-to hacks that you'll want to know. So thank you for watching. Reach out to one of our experience centers and have a wonderful night. I'm going to bed. Talk to you later. Why is that important? Who's coming out? Freaking ghost. Ooh. That's why you need the triple latch still. Okay, let's go.